The third initiative is also one that we are pulling across campus, right? So if we're going to be a place of vigorous, balanced learning, what are we going to do with the opportunity that allows us, that we're allowed to have, because we're not so focused exclusively on the academic outcomes of our kids in terms of some of those typical metrics that are used. Well, for us, we're building kids of heart, we're building kids of spirit. And that's really where Parish Leads comes in. And Parish Leads is really, in its first iteration, just really an encapsulation and a collection of things that Parish Day has done really effectively for a long time. But we've done them in isolation, and we haven't recognized them as a unified whole. We have 3 tenets at Parish: wisdom, honor, and service. And I know from my kids' experience, and I know from walking the hallways here every day, that if I go out and play the which one did I not say or which one's missing game, and I say one, the kids can name the other 2. Do the test at your house. Okay? Go home and say wisdom and service and see which one they guess. And I will bet you from our youngest kids, and I mean our first grade kids, all the way up to our 12th grade kids, they would tell you that it was honor. They know those tenets. So for us, the question was, how can we really begin to flesh those tenets out? Put language to them and some outcomes to them that, again, we can start to use as parents and as teachers and as a community that really help us to understand what wisdom is and what honor is and what service is, right? And then build our programs to them and recognize which programs we've been doing for a long time that already support those outcomes. And then in time, continue to add and build programs that will help us with those outcomes. So for this last year, I said, well, we're going to come back with an institute philosophy, and we're going to come back with programming that's going to work toward that outcome, and we're going to create courses that help us to achieve that. And in fact, we have. Our lower school classes, through the work of our assistant head for student life, Ted Lukoski, are getting Building Leaders with Character program. It lays the foundation of a character-based program. They do 18 characteristics of ethical leaders on a 2-year cycle. Those 18 characteristics could all be subsumed under wisdom, honor, and service, right? They're just extensions of those. Those same values or themes are reinforced in chapel by Chaplain Kathy Ross daily, right? Every day. The kids get those. And then now they launched to middle school, and this last year we've set up 4 classes that every middle school student takes while they're going through middle school. They're essentially our Parish Leads core curriculum of trimester electives for students. So in 5th grade, they work on Parish Inc., where they develop a product from concept to marketed delivery, and they work together to do that. So they're really building early on some skills on how to create and collaborate in a group. And then in 6th grade, they move into the ethics class, where they really begin to explore, using the Character Counts program, a series of 6 values, and they look at them in some depth, and they look at those tough decisions that have to be made in ethical circumstances that are relevant to them, all right, around bullying and around personal relationships. All our 7th grade kids are taking a public speaking course for a trimester. We think that communication element of leadership, to be persuasive and inspiring, is a really important skill to start developing early. And then our 8th grade students spend a trimester learning about service learning. What's a nonprofit? How does it work? How do they support programs? And then they find a cause, and they develop a campaign to support it. The 8th grade just finished up a really cool project working with Karen Blesson from Peace Counts, or Peace Matters, on our Peacemakers on homelessness. And that was a great project that they worked on. We're adding a new leadership class in upper school next year, Tactics of Leadership, that Linda Bernard will teach. That's in complement to the class that I already teach in the upper school, and we hope to add perhaps a 3rd class in the leadership fold down the line. A part of Parish Leads will be the Leadership Institute. Like the Academy, it'll be offered in the upper school. We're going to roll it out to the class of 2016, the present 8th graders. They'll apply next year as 9th graders to enter into the program as sophomores. And so, akin to what the Academy of Global Studies is seeking to do, the Leadership Institute will allow these 15 students to do a little more of a deep dive into leadership, right? Academy kids will be over here, and the Leadership Institute kids will be over here. For right now, they won't be allowed to do both, so to speak, because we really want to watch these 2 programs set out and what they're asking kids to do without overburdening kids, right? But you can see from the Leadership Institute at the bottom of this sheet, you can see that kids will be asked to learn some things, and that means going to class, because you learn about leadership by being in leadership courses. That helps. But we also know that leaders learn by observing other leaders. So this will allow them to go off and establish an off-campus leader mentor. right, with whom they'll do some reflection and some relationship building. You need to observe by also learning about yourself as you go through the leadership process. They'll do self-awareness tools like the Myers-Briggs and the colored service inventory. We'll have speakers come to campus to talk and work with them. And then the third component of it, you got to activate a little bit. It's fine to talk about leadership and theorize, but we want the kids to do a serve project, essentially saying when you enter as a sophomore and you leave as a senior, right, what is your plan to move something from where you found it to where you're going to leave it 2 years from now? So Linda Bernard will direct and coordinate the students that are moving through the Leadership Institute in the upper school and really articulating, maybe in visual performing arts, could be in athletics, could be on a club, right, in their particular upper school domain. We haven't quite decided whether we'll take something that they're working on off campus, but potentially how they're going to move that particular group from where they are to where they would leave it when they're seniors. So we're excited about Parish Leads. Up here on the slide, you'll see Preston Harrison working with Rafa over at Hillcrest, and I choose a lot of these slides intentionally because they have sub-messages to them, and I love Hillcrest Helpers. It's one of the favorite programs that we have on campus presently for kids that serve. We have about a dozen kids that leave Midway and go over to Hillcrest, and besides the fact that it unifies both campuses, what it evidences to me is, when we talk about forging kids of impact, and through this program, Parish Leads, what I hope we find looking ahead is that we're moving kids to determine where their passion is, right, so that they're leading in joyful space. And I love Hillcrest Helpers because the kids there are leading in joyful space. What that means is they're not serving because it's obligatory. They're not serving because I got to get my 15 hours in, or I got to do it for confirmation for church, or I got to do it to get my merit badge for scouts, right? They're serving over there because they found a passion working with Mr. Doolin in PE, or working with Miss Kiefer in art, or being in Miss Howard's first grade class. And in that space, they realize that the gifts that they've been God-given are manifesting in ways that make them feel really good, right? And of course, that then makes the people they're serving feel really good. So the proof in the pudding is a couple of weeks ago, I was at Hillcrest on a day Midway was off for conferences, and I walked into lunch, to the lunchroom, and in comes Alex Halloran, who's a senior, right, on her off day in her civies, right, because she had to be there in Miss Jennings' class because she just loves to be there, right? So that's serving in joyful space. And I hope, our continued emphasis on Parish Leads will move kids to this realization as they go through our program.